Okay, GLSM, hopefully you can hear this. I'm going to try to send you a link. If I can do this. See if I could send you a link here. And let me double check. Yep, works. Okay. Let me send you a link to this. Yeah, I got a bunch of trades that I'm trying to get out of. And there's just no liquidity on them, on a few of them. Give me 1 second. Let's see. Okay. I'm sending you a link just in case. Hopefully you get this. Let's see. Hey, Hotep there, Brother Will. Hold on for 1 sec. Oh, it's good to see you there, Brother Will. Man, I am just beating myself to the core in terms of my workouts. I'm up to 300 pounds on my deadlift, but that's still, kind of marginal because I had a lot of back issues. But hopefully I'll be up to about 500 by, I'd say about September, because I don't want to rush it. I could do 350. That's 6.5 plates. But I can't do, if I could get to 400 by, I'd say like July, that would be about 8 plates. Then I'll be okay with my back. Usually it's my back and my abs. They usually get really hit hard when I'm deadlifting. I mean, I really, really go through it. Yesterday was a seriously cool workout. I started out in the morning. I go up to the park and I do muscle ups. So I was doing some muscle ups and some tuck rows or tuck lever. I could do a straddle, front lever, but that's about, but I can only hold it for a couple seconds. But I do some front levers, but I barely hold them. But I started out and I was just doing muscle ups all morning long. And then after I rest for like an hour and a half, because it takes me that long to get down to the gym over there, way, way down. It's like an hour away. Because I specifically did that on purpose, having a gym that's far away. So it takes about an hour to get there. And then when I got there, I do my strength training, which is where I start out with deadlifts and burpees. I'll do a set of burpees, deadlifts, and then I'll do Russian push-ups with a 45 plate on my back. And Russian push-ups, if you ever get a chance, Brother Will, check out what Russian push-ups look like. Really, really nice. So I'll do that, and I'll do like 2 or 3 sets of those. I'll do deadlifts. Now, yesterday I didn't do my 300 pounds. Yesterday, did I do it? No. The other, I normally, my working set is 300, which is 6 plates. But I'm trying to get my working set up to 8 plates in terms of my deadlifts, because I use that for cardio. That's the only reason I do deadlifts, is cardio and conditioning. Sometimes I'll do kettlebell swings, but then I start out my mornings doing kettlebells and conditioning with that, with the deadlifts and burpees and Russian push-ups. Then I go to my working set, which is my working set is pull-ups with 2.5 plates, which is not much. It's only like 135 pounds that you're doing pull-ups with. It's like if that. I mean, it's like 245s. I mean, 245s, 25, and a 15, and that's about it. And then I'll do that for my working set for pull-ups. Then I'll do directly into either Russian push-ups with a plate, with a single plate, or regular push-ups with 2 plates. And I can do 3 plates, which is around what would that be? Around 140 on my back. And then I do squats because I always make sure. I was trying some pistol squats yesterday, and that's my hip flexors are not strong enough to do pistol squats yet, but I'm really trying to up my game for my workouts, especially, and I do a lot of conditioning because I want to, there's a lot of really good fight training that's out. Some of the fight gym that's near me moved because I was going to join that fight gym, and that one moved, and I need somebody that can actually work with me because of the, my eyesight issues, because I want to be able to use my other senses to be able to determine targets and close in fights, because I'm being tested more and more every day. I mean, folks are coming up trying to test me because they say, hey, this is a dude that has no eyesight. We could see yesterday, dude tried to test me, but I'm walking down the street, and he was trying to do a hustle. I'm pretty sure he was trying to roll me, and I'm like, dude, not now. This is not you don't want to be doing this, because I could still see enough to go ahead and do some damage. So it's like, but the more and more crazy it gets out here in Cali, the more and more I find people testing me on the street. And so I really want to be able to do some damage should the need arise. I can do damage, but not that kind of damage. But yeah, so brother JLSM had sent me the email, and I wanted to respond to you there. I'm glad you got the grant, and I'm glad you're using what you can for the grant. A lot of times when I'm building something, you've got 3 different sections of something that you need when it comes to like any kind of business. You've got, and some folks will have even more than that, but I like to simplify everything. You got the initial, here's the 3 things. You got the production of the product, you got the distribution or the selling of the product, and you've got the advertising of the product. Those 3 things. So if you got that grant, and again, I like to disseminate things into very simple things. Production, making sure that production of that product is always going on. You always kind of, that will always be a rotating cost. Then you've got the selling of the product, and that usually pays for all the other 2, the production and the advertising. Then the advertising is supposed to get more and more selling so that you could get more product. It's that simple. Any business is like that. And the reason I say that, back when I was a kid, I used to sell a lot of drugs. So, that's how I thought when I was a kid. I had manufactured the drugs I needed to manufacture, but I needed to get new clients, and I needed to sell it, and I needed to be competitive in my pricing, no matter what it is. When you were talking about in terms of which delineate how much goes to each section, advertising. Now, again, everybody's got their own take on their businesses, but I skimp on finding advertisers to try to go ahead and push something, because they're in the business of making money trying to be hype men. That's all it is. They're hype men. And if the product is good enough, with as much fungibility in terms of getting everybody to know you, you got TikTok, Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, you've got X, you've got Red Note, you've got basically what is that? Threads, which is really nothing. Blue Sky. You've got so many different ways of getting your word out that if you were to go to a specialized agency, which all they do is make money trying to be hype men, that's all they do. The agency has to do much better than what you have already. That agency has to be over the top and guaranteeing, not just, we know we could do better and this is what it's going to cost you. I'm talking a guaranteed outlook that will bring more premium and more money, investment money. That's pretty much, because that's one thing about advertisers nowadays. I noticed they're doing everything and then some. It's like when we used to sell records, when, we would advertise our bands and stuff, and we would pay or try to get somebody to advertise for us. Nowadays, you don't need it. Nowadays you can do your own. And I'm not saying folks should do their own, but that's in terms of budgeting, the 3 things that are very important. The one thing is your cost of your product. That's a rotating, constant cost, because you're always going to have new product, and that's going to, the cost of getting it done, the cost of manufacturing, bottling it, the cost of everything. That is something you cannot go away from. Then you've got the selling. You got to sell it in order to make some money. Like when I was selling, trying to do records and stuff like that. There was no, when we were selling our records and selling our CDs and selling our, and like streaming now. I wrote a song with a friend of mine, and actually it was his song that I wrote the bridge and the chorus or the outro to and everything else, and the song ended up on a single with on one of Najee's records back in 2016. It was the name of his album, and I mean that my friend, phenomenal keyboard player. I mean a phenomenal cat, wonderful. He's a brother. He's like family, and it ended up on there. But I've only made probably enough to get a dinner at Denny's with that, even though it was a single and it was out there. It charted up on the charts. The advertisement, because of the mechanicals, what you're getting nowadays in terms of streaming and stuff like that, you're not making that kind of money unless you do it yourself. You get your own publishing. You're not really like bringing in the cash like it was back in the day. And I haven't been up on it in terms of, chasing down royalties, which I should be. I should, because I get these things in the mail. I mean, in my email talking about, TikTok wants to use it. You give them permission. Yeah, hell yeah. So I'm not, chasing down the royalties. I haven't been like wise enough to do it. Maybe I'll have to hire somebody that can see to do this. But the thing is advertising in terms of budgeting. That is something that, again, the three things: manufacturing costs you can't go away from. But the thing is to be able to minimize it, but to be able to have enough money, surplus money, so you could constantly always, manufacture. Those three, tentacles, or those three legs, or those three arms of a business, are arms you can't go away from. You've got to have manufacturing. You've got to have something to sell it, market it. The commoditization is what I call it, selling it. That's all it is. Commoditization is the selling of a product. And then you've got to have the advertisement so everybody knows your product exists. The advertisement brings in the money, or it brings in the interest so you can sell it competitively. So if somebody has something that's about the same price as yours, you could sell it underneath that price. So manufacturing, so the advertising brings the folks to you so you can be competitive in pricing. Now you've got enough. Then you could research, keep your margins expanded so it doesn't compress your margins, the cost of you making it and the cost of you selling it. So therefore, you're able to go ahead and reinvest in that and take some money off the top to go ahead and put in, for a rainy day, put it into something you could, new project, or, a rainy day fund or something like that. But the advertisement, as important as it is, it's, hiring a firm. It would have to be almost like back in the day. It was like, okay, if you don't come through, you don't get paid. That's where advertising is nowadays. A lot of folks saying, oh, I could get you 1 million ticks on TikTok, or 1 million followers, and this and that and that. It's kind of like, can you do it, or can I do it on my own? Not saying most people can't, but it comes down to that. It comes down to, well, I just wonder how, effective this firm is, because all they do, their claim to fame, and the only thing they do is try to be hype man. That's all it is. One big hype man. And I always say, anyone that's hiring a hype man is like hiring a lawyer. Make sure you got somebody who's going to definitely get you what you want, and you don't, and if you don't get the results, then you're going to be in a little bit of a problem. It's always about, the key is the juice worth the squeeze? Kind of like how I go through when I'm doing my trading. Is the juice worth the squeeze? It comes down to that, And so hopefully this will give you kind of an idea in terms of, because man, I am so glad that you're doing what you're doing, because I'm trying to convince everybody to start going in that direction in terms of, being sovereign, be your own. I mean, it comes down to that. But the bottom line is it comes down to, we're in such a competitive world right now. I mean, uber competitive, to where it's like, and it's just getting crazy. I was going to do some more live streams on the other channel, but I'm so live streamed out. I mean, I've done, like I said, too much for too many, for too long, for too little, but I'm so live streamed out that I was going to do one in terms of the current geopolitical environment, because I like your plans. Kenya was on my, but I love West Africa. West Africa is on my agenda. for my bucket list. That's where I intend to make sure that's where I want to end up, is West Africa. When my bones are fertilizing some ground, I don't want it fertilizing United Snakes. And I do understand, overstand, and understand definitely Kenya. Definitely Kenya. I've got a gangload of these trades I'm trying to get out of, and it's just not working. No, my vertical's not moved. What's my vertical at? 25 credit. Okay, so that's good. That ain't going nowhere. I got two Is this vertical trade? I got two vertical trades. Okay, I got the June 18th. Am I in the money on that? Yes, I am. Oh yeah, that's the one I rolled. Let's see. I rolled this one. This one's in March. Let me see if I could roll this for credit. But let me just roll some of these because I like this. Oops, let me see. Let me roll these. See if we can roll it. Let's see. No, that's the June. The March is what I want to roll. Let's see if I can roll the March. Roll strikes up. See if I'm getting any credit on this. Nope. So there's no credit on this. So there's no need to roll that. I was going to try to roll this because it's really a costless trade. There's no what is the cost of this on that VIX trade, that vertical VIX trade, the 3 rolls I have? Yeah, there's no cost in that. It's a free trade. So I've rolled it and got all the credits I needed on it. But the one I really want to roll is I want to roll the one that I'm in right now. So let's go with let's change the credit and see if I can get 24 cents on credit. Market's just open, so yep, okay, good. I got credit on that. So let's see what we got on that. On that VIX, this vertical. Okay, what's the trade price on the vertical here? So I'm down. So I brought the trade price in a little bit on it. Good. Let's see if I could. Let's see that vertical trade price. Yeah. And that vertical. And this vertical trade price is nothing. Let's see. Let's see. This vertical is 37. Vertical 3 rows. Yeah, this is the one I keep wanting to. Okay, 142 debit. Let's just see if FXI will get me out, because this trade has just been like really bouncing back and forth. And this is a Chinese trade. I mean, I'm trying to get out of that, and I'm trying to get out of this iron condor I'm in, so I can grab that profit and walk away. But it's not letting me do it. But yeah, so JLSM, the thing is I'm really, really looking in terms of like I said, like any business. I mean, and it's so funny because a lot of folks, in terms of structuring their business, especially if you're getting like grant money, it's like somebody giving you a budget and saying, here's a check. How are you going to spend it? And that movie, if you ever want to watch a good movie about that, it was with Richard Pryor and John Candy. It's called Brewster's Millions. Came out in the early 80s, I think. Yeah, I think it was the early 80s. Brewster's Millions. And how Richard Pryor had to have 30 days to spend like $40 million, and then he could keep the entire fortune. But the thing is how are you going to budget that spending? And so if somebody's going to give you a check, it comes down to, okay, since I got a grant, how am I going to portion? So that you have to have manufacturing of whatever you do. So that is going to be a price. So if you can, it's all about expanding your margins by compressing the cost of what it takes to get done and maximizing the gains of what you want to sell it. I got those back in my drug dealing days when I was a kid, like 50 years ago. Like 40, 50 years ago, I used to sell drugs like there was no tomorrow, about 47 years ago. And I knew that if I could we called it turn, if I could keep the cost of my production, especially when I was selling all these bikers, I wouldn't sell it to black folk, but I would sell like mescaline and acid and meth. I used to make a lot of meth when I was a kid. And I used to sell that to all the bikers and stuff like that. You know, all the in the 60s they call them hippies, 70s they call them stoners, and 80s they call them freaks. And I would sell so much, but I knew that if I could keep the cost of production down, because I knew how to make meth, I could make an ounce. Usually an ounce would cost me about 32, 33 bucks to make. And I knew I could sell it for 3,000. And nowadays that would cost you like 30,000 for the knowledge I said, and I still know how to make it. So I would use the old way, what they called it biker's coke back then. And I knew if I could, I would go to Walmart to get my ingredients. That's how crazy it was back in the day. And I would get them, and then I would manufacture a bunch of biker's coke, meth, but I knew I could keep the cost down. So then what I did is I would do my own advertising, because folks were like, man, this dude knew, I was like the Steve Urkel. They called me professor because I knew how to make shit. So the advertising started out as word of mouth. Then it got a little bit too much hype, and I was a little too hot, in terms of too many people knew what I was doing and I was the guy. So what had happened was, but at the time, the advertising took care of the cost because I was able to sell it like there was no tomorrow. So I was able to produce more. And so the advertising took care of the cost because I was like, oh, the demand came up. Again, it's economics 101, supply and demand. And I knew that back, this is like 47 years ago. It's at least, no, it's over 40 years ago. Gosh, at least 45 years ago, maybe. Yeah, man, time flies. So anyways, when I was doing this, I was keeping the cost of production of making, like mescaline and acid and coke and hash. I would do my own hash oils and compress and make my own little hash. It's crazy, the stuff that I was doing back then. I was really deep, and I knew that I would keep the cost down. And so I said to myself, okay, I need the word of mouth to get out, but I need to make sure, because when you're dealing drugs, you don't want everybody to know who you're doing. You just want the right folks to know, and then the right folks know they ain't gonna tell nobody because they're up on the next line of the chain, because then they have a lot of liability. So when you're like 6 and 7 degrees in the chain down the line, nobody knows who the guy is that's doing everything, except for the guys that are next in the chain. Then when it goes down and down and down, by the time you're 6 levels deep or 7 levels deep in the chain, nobody knows who's the guy manufacturing. They just know where to get it. And that's what I was doing when I was dealing back in the days. So the advertising became a lot more cost efficient. So there was no real major cost to me making it. And so therefore, I was able to manufacture more, and the sales took care of themselves. That's what it was like back in the day when I was a kid. So any business is down to 3 simple basic principles. Most of them are. A lot of folks don't realize it. It comes down to 3 very basic things. You're going to have to keep production. You want to make sure you could sell it. And you need to have word of mouth or advertising. You need to let folks know you exist somewhere, somehow. Folks need to know that your business exists. The key is where to save, where to save the money is what it comes all down to. Where am I going to be able to maximize the potential of making cash? And the more you spend on getting the word of mouth, if that doesn't produce, again, it's like, I always look at things as what's the most effective part of a business. Getting everybody to know who you are, like these folks that tell you, oh, if I could get you 1,000 views, and I could get you these views, and I could get your channel up, and I can get your influencer up, and I can make you this and that. My thing is like, if your product is good, then you know that your message is going to work. Your product is good. Now, what is, and when it comes to your cost, what are you, or when it comes to selling your project, how much are you expecting so you could continue to keep your message, your product, or whatever happening? How much you're willing to invest into that to make it happen? How much you're willing to make sure that you get back in terms of cost to make it happen? So, these influencers and everybody doing YouTube videos and Instagrams, and they, got great microphones and cameras and all that. They spend a lot of money. So that means they have their overhead. They have to make sure their margins are expanded. They cannot have their margins compressed. Oh yeah, I've got 3 views, but I spent $10,000 on camera equipment. That's not going to work. So you want to make sure that the reciprocal of that is happening. You get $10,000, but you only spent $3 on camera. So the thing is once you do that, then when you start to advertise, then it's all of a sudden Yeah. Okay. I got this. I've amassed what I could. How is your advertising going to benefit what I'm doing and bring more revenue and less cost? That's how it comes down to. If you're going to pay for an advertiser, are they going to bring you more money than what it costs you for you to advertise and more money than it costs for you to produce? And if that is, I mean, it's that simple. Any business, it's that simple. And that's how I look at stuff. You the male enhancement stuff, man. I am so glad. I mean, the thing that you're talking about for Africa, my thing is definitely, in today's environment, anything works. Hold on for 1 second. That's how stuff is in today's environment. I'm telling you, man. If you're putting together that, I guarantee you this. Here, let me give you a good case in point of how effective. I'm gonna give you something that's really something to think about. I hate to put this out there, but I'm gonna put it out there for you. Anything that African people do is very effective when we really believe in it, and that's why folks really want to buy it. Whether it's hip hop, whether it's shea butter, whether it's how we talk, how we dance, even our crime, you name it. It's very effective and it brings a lot of money in. I don't want to put this out there because the last thing I want is for white, Asian, and any other males having African male enhancement stuff. But I'll tell you, there's a market, okay? Because I know that what we do is so efficacious and so thorough that whatever we do and we put together, you're more than likely going to have a big market. That's one market. I didn't want to put this out there because I know that there's some Negroes out there saying, "Hey, I'm gonna do this and sell it to all these peckerwoods." No, that's the last thing I want. But there is a market. It reminds me of the shea butter thing, and I was telling sister this, but it fell in deaf ears. Again, a lot of things. This is why I'm kind of live streamed out because I was like, look, if y'all really turn things into a tool, you could really, really maximize your footprint. And it doesn't matter what somebody does or says. You've maximized the ability for you to do commerce, and you've actually, you will outdo your competitors. Remember when shea butter that whole thing was sold? And a lot of sisters were upset. Oh my God, black folks in general were very upset. The whole shea butter scandal. You had this shea butter was being sold. What was it like a? I'm trying to remember all the details of the shea butter scandal. But what had happened was, let me see if we can do this again. You had this situation where it was being sold, and I guess he sold it out to a white company. Okay. And a lot of folks were like, man, you're a sellout. You gave up. It's kind of like the old BET thing. Look at you sold out. We could have, that's another black business gone and sold out to the such and such, to the man or whatever. My thing was like, look, all those folks that are complaining, they could build ancillary businesses to it. And this is what I mean. Let me give it a drink of water. This is why I kind of like Tasty Trade because, or at least Tom Sosnoff, because he thinks a lot of what I think of. A lot of times when we think we sold out and it's the end of the world, that somebody else is going to have the formula. My thing is, you could create a lot of ancillary businesses, irrespective. If somebody sells out, that doesn't mean that you cannot be the. If somebody sells the well to the water, then you become the one that delivers the tap. So you might not own that well, but nobody gets that water unless you're there. And that's one thing I had to hand it to Sosnoff when he was talking about AI, and a lot of folks are afraid of AI taking all these jobs and whatnot. It's going to create new jobs. It was like when the CD and the cassette tape, when the cassette tape came out back after the 8-track. Because I remember I used to have 8-track tapes and cassette tapes. My first 8-track that I mean, at least one that I listened to forever was the soundtrack to Claudine. And I would listen to that movie Claudine. I'd listen to that on the 8-track, and I could still hear that song in my head with James Earl Jones and who was the young lady? Wasn't Diane Carroll? I'm trying to remember. That this came out in '75, and that was one of my favorite movies of all time, Claudine. And so I would listen to the 8-track tape. Then I remember cassettes. But I remember when the cassette tape came out and folks were just up in arms. Man, the cassette tape's going to ruin radio. The cassette tape is going to distill, and folks are talking about royalties. They said the same thing out when Napster and MP3s came out. It's going to destroy the music biz. Oh my gosh, oh my gosh. The thing is new technologies create new business. Ain't no different than the shea butter thing. Somebody sold shea butter out. It created new business for other folks to come in and say, hey, good. Now I can, and so folks were so bent out of shape with shea butter being sold to a white company. My thing was, why did these sisters not put together what I call shea butter centers? In other words, since we know how to use it and we're the one, and they got it from us, why not be the ones to apply it and still get the revenue and build new business and new innovations like shea butter? Here's what I mean. I told these sisters, I said, all you sisters that are pissed off about, now that everybody else has got shea butter and they got our secrets, why did you not create shea butter centers? In other words, where Becky's and Amy's and Megan's and Isabella's and any other non-African female that can't wait to do, because it must do something with your skin, so they want it. Why not be the ones to say, well, since you want it that bad, only we got the secret on how you could put it on. In other words, you got these, like, especially over there in like West, it's down near West Hollywood, where's that? Santa Monica and all this. These folks have millions. Calabasas, we're talking millions upon millions of dollars. And these are the husbands of record execs and lawyers and entertainment lawyers. The wives of entertainment lawyers and their husbands and record execs and all this, and media moguls. You've got the wives of all of them. They go to all the, for Pilates and go this and that. And they spend mega amounts of money. Now, the fact that shea butter thing came out, they went to white females and Mexicans and everybody else to find out how to put it on. Whereas if these sisters franchised shea butter centers in all these areas, I did it, they would have a net income of at least $40 million yearly that they could get in a lot of places, like I said, from Calabasas, all the way up to Ventura County, all the way up into Montecito, all the way up into San Francisco, down to they could be working their way to Santa Monica, West Hollywood. The amount, $40 million, but none of these sisters. I did the groundwork on this and said, if they developed the Shea Butter Center, because they're crying and crying and crying, and I ain't got time for it. I just put it out there for them and said, look, y'all didn't like this, but here's what I would do if I were y'all. And I would put them strategically targeted in these places. So when Becky, because these Beckys and Megans, their husbands are cheating on them more than the white boy gets Starbucks coffee in Seattle. And a lot of them, that's why the whole cougar movement came out, because they were it was like their last vestige to retain their womanhood. My thing was like, look, they're trying to do everything they can to stay young because the competition is fierce. Okay, especially when it comes to females in Hollywood. The moment you turn 35, it's over with. Okay, so and some 35-year-old Becky married to Trevor, that she's counting them. She's got 5 years left before he goes ahead and files for a divorce, and she's going to do everything she can to spend his money to look good until she finds somebody. So clearly, a shea butter center, instead of letting Isabella Gomez put it on, let Tanisha put it on, they could have made at least $40 million annually franchising shea butter centers in all these real wealthy areas, since it was so but they might not own the patent, but they own the mechanism of getting it done, of getting other folks done, because only sisters know how to apply it. But they were so bent out of shape because it messed them up. Oh my gosh, this and that. Oh my gosh, shea butter, they sold this out. My thing is like, look, everything's a weapon, a lesson, or a tool. You throw it out, and it is what it is. So that's why I'm really, really deep about if you're really getting into if you want to maximize what you want in terms of like your advertisement versus your manufacturing versus the actual selling of the product should be the smallest cost you have in terms of the actual mechanism of selling. Now, I'm not talking advertising. I'm talking the actual point of distributing it, getting your revenue, accounting for it, warehousing it, securing it. That should be the smallest cost of all. The next cost should be of course, making the product, the manufacturing, and you want to go ahead and minimize that. But and I mean, I shouldn't say the smallest. I should say that should, yeah, it should, the selling should not cost you that much. The advertising is somewhere between the selling and the manufacturing for me. The advertising should not cost more than the manufacturing, and it might cost more than what it takes to warehouse and everything else, because that's an automatic situation. Okay, let's box it up. Okay, it cost us this, this, and this to do it. We sold it. We shipped it here, we shipped it there. Those should be minimized. That's where. But advertisement, in terms of getting a firm, I know that a lot of folks say there's no guarantees, but if I'm going to pay for a hype man, I want a guarantee. I want a guarantee because that hype man has to work for his money, not me. They have to work. It's like a lawyer. They have to work for their cash, and that's, and so hopefully that answers your question in terms of one of the things that I remember when they were talking about MP3s. My friend brought me to a dinner. He was producing a band, and one of the guys that he was working with was Andy Wallace, who produced Nirvana. So I was on Luther's tour, and he was working for this band, and he says, "Hey man, why don't you come to dinner with us?" So here I am sitting with Nirvana's producer, and he's taking all of us out for dinner, for sushi that night. And I was like, okay, I'm in town, I mean, hey, let's hang. And so I'm sitting here, I mean, and you best believe I did not skimp on, because this is a dude that made millions upon millions because he produced Nirvana. You best believe I'm not going to sit there and say no when it comes to whatever they want. It's like, hey, get what you want. Yeah, okay. The dinner's free. Shoot, with a guy that's pulled in tens of millions of dollars in 1 week, you best believe I'm gonna order the menu. But I'm sitting there and he says, "Look, I'll never forget when he said this. He says, I was telling because CDs were really big at the time, and he's like, I was telling Sony when this Napster stuff came out to embrace Napster, embrace MP3s, and just don't, stop being so." And Sony didn't want nothing to do with it. Oh no, they're gonna break the music. We're quashing it down. You remember all the lawsuits to Napster and Lime and all that went through? That was because Sony they didn't have the forethought like the sisters didn't when it came to Shea Butter. They were all pissed off. No, we've got the Walkman. They put so much R&D into a physical product that they were not able to bend and grow with the new technologies that are coming out, and they didn't have the ability. In other words, they wanted to control the water, but the water changed into something else. It's like the water that they had changed it into gasoline or something else. You're going to have a different way in order to distribute it. You're not going to distribute gasoline out of a water fountain. Now you got to get gas pumps because your water now turned into something else. So now you want to go ahead and still use that, but now you're going to have to, we have to change with the times. There's an old saying: those that fail to make the bend in the road won't fail to make those who fail to make the bend of the road will meet the end of the road. And so when things bend, when things turn, you morph with it and you create that as a new tool to develop a new industry. And they didn't want to do that. And so that's what Andy Wallace was telling us. He's like, man, I told Sony, I told them, that this is what you have to do, embrace this stuff because it's a new technology. Because he knew that back in the day when they were talking about CD or they were talking about cassette tapes being the end of the radio industry. No. All it did is enhanced radio. We would get whatever we heard on the radio and record it on cassette. And cassettes were like all that for a couple of decades, And so it didn't hurt the music industry. It did not hurt radio. It actually enhanced radio. So we were able to record whatever we had, and then we bought the records and recorded those so we could listen wherever we were at. And we still kept the records, especially album covers, because that's where we went and rolled up our joints on it. While we're listening to cassette, we'd roll up our joints. So the thing is it's like with Napster, they were like squash MP3s. Now, who do you know has a Walkman? Okay, really, nobody cares about. So Sony really cut its own throat because you got all your stuff on Apple Music, or Spotify. Nobody cares because Sony failed to make they didn't use it as a tool. It's like Beta versus VHS, and you had folks Blockbuster didn't, they were like, no, we're just going to be, you bring your tape and make sure you rewind it. Then Redbox came out, and then Netflix said, okay, good luck, you guys. And, now all of a sudden, Blockbuster, it's like looking at an Atari computer. Blockbuster is the same thing as an Atari. It's a relic. And that's what I say whenever you're doing in terms of business wise, just know that, your product is always going to have to be there. Okay. And the manufacturing is always going to be there. So that cost can't go away. Um, Cost of distributing and, the selling of the product, whether how I was selling drugs back when I was a kid, there was a cost into making sure that it got into the right bikers and the white boys that wanted it. But the advertisement costs are the most abstract, most fungible, and the most you know very they're not absolute. They're very indefinite. I mean, they're not as definitive. Advertising costs are very opaque. Depending on, of course, what do you want to get done? Of course, who's going to do it? What is the resource do they have? They might tell you, a lot of them might tell you, oh, we're doing this, we're doing that, we're doing this, we're doing that. You might be able to do 10 times of that on your own. And you can say, no, I've already got that covered. What else do you do that could guarantee my sales meet a certain criteria so I can still manufacture my product? They're like, oh, we can get you views on this. No, I already got that. What else can you do? Well, what else can you do? It's like in the music industry. When we were out there, promoters and publishers, the promoters, the hype men, the dudes doing payola, they had to work, they had to hit the ground. Because it wasn't, it was like if they were not having results, getting your stuff on the record, on the radio, it was over. They had to get out there. They were whining and dining DJs, sleeping with DJs, getting DJs high and taking them out to dinner, you name it. And if they were not producing results, somebody else is out there doing it for them. Because it was like, hey, we spent this kind of money and, our record's not number one. What's going on with you? You were supposed to set that guy up with a hooker that you could go ahead and blackmail him so you could get on KMEL. What happened? Did the hooker not show up or what? And if the results weren't there, you best believe that they were not, it wasn't going to happen. So that's what kind of what I think you might want to be into when it comes to that. And you might want to look at those cost factors and the things that you could get done or get somebody else to get done cheap. If whoever you're advertising with says, oh, I could do that, then chances are they're a hype man that didn't know what the hooker was doing, for lack of a better term, when you were supposed to have a number one record. That's what payola was like. I mean, back in the day, that's the payola. If they're doing something that, for instance, opening you up to international markets that they've already got relationships with, that can guarantee you, not just, okay, we think we can do this and we're almost sure we can. No. Can you open up India, China, and that's a guarantee that we will have that have our products in there with this kind of footprint advertised that I can't do? Are you guaranteeing that you could do much more than me in Kazakhstan or Uzbekistan, getting my product in there and all these outlets, local? And do you have any relationships with the governments there? So therefore, if I'm international, the government will push that product because they know they're getting a cut. They'll push it over and above even their own because they know they'll get a bigger cut and a footprint in the U.S. markets. Should I want to go ahead and do something with Uzbekistan in the future, or with Nepal, or with South Korea? Is there a way that you can guarantee that we'll have a symbiotic relationship and the advertisement agency will be in the cut? Then they might even find you better manufacturers because they'll be like, hey, man, we've got this good relationship here. We open up 8 international markets and you boosted our advertising firm. And hey, because we're using you as a notch in our belt to what we can do to advertise your company. But hey, we've got this friend that we know, this manufacturing firm somewhere over there in Kenya that might, you might want to look at. And therefore cuts your costs down because they're trying to cut your costs down so they can get more money from your manufacturing into their advertisement. Make them work is what I'm saying. Make folks work. This is just the nature of how it is. AKW, good to see you. Good to see you. This is just the nature of how things are. It's always about, of using those symbiotic relationships, because if I was an advertiser and KW or Brother Will had a product and I was like, I mean, the first thing I'd be like, the more that they can do and the more sales they get, then that means that I could use them as a notch in my belt to open up a market that I've been trying to get over there somewhere in Thailand. This dude in Thailand does this. And if he could see what I could do for KW or JLSM or Brother Will, they're going to say, look, we're going to go with this guy because look at what he did with that. He opened this guy into our markets. Can he do that and sell our stuff in the US? So I'd be an advertiser saying, look, check this out. I've opened you up to 8 different states in the US. I've already talked to their ombudsman. I've talked to their city councils. I've talked to their oh man, the Chamber of Commerce. I've talked to them and they will be more than happy to open up and get your product over here. Matter of fact, they're going to go ahead and give us free advertising on 6 local stations. Not like that really means anything nowadays. But we've already got, and when it comes to July 4th, they're going to make sure that they got a banner with you up there. And we've got your product on 8 different buses. And I'm coming in from Thailand saying, oh, really? You did that? What that does is that makes me all of a sudden, Brother Will and KW will be like, God dog it, man. He's got our product in Thailand. If me as an advertiser, it's more beneficial for me to make sure that they do good. So therefore, that guy in Thailand's like, okay, I need to use you. So if I make him look good and make sure his costs are down, I'm gonna be like, look, man, look at what I've done. I've got a good manufacturer for your stuff in Thailand. Matter of fact, I've got some manufacturers for KW. Maybe KW doesn't need my, his manufacturing base is perfect, but I got him a friend because he's got a friend that's making bicycles, and I've got a manufacturer for KW's friend. So therefore, hey, I've opened up that relationship to where now KW is in my family, and now we're part of the fold. Now all of a sudden, we've got this. It's not just a relationship of, oh, pay me and I'll be your hype man. Now it's like, look what I've done for you. You can't go to anyone else because I'm too important as an advertiser. I'm not just advertising. I'm making sure that next time I go to KW, since he's doing so well, it'll be like, look, man, I've saved your friend prices. I've made his margins expand, cut his cost of production because I got somebody that does it. And check this out. He's getting me a bigger budget to advertise with. And now KW's like, whoa, shoot. Brother Will's like, oh, really? Man, well, who do you know? Well, I've got this guy that could actually either, if it's not manufacturing, I can get a better distribution deal. So don't go with them distribution. I'll get you this. And I've just saved you even more money. And Brother Will come back to me and go, well, damn, why don't you throw it into the advertising budget then? Well, of course. So it's really just looking at things in a logical, competitive way. As an advertiser, I would do that. I would be like, I would do everything for my client to make sure that more money could go to his advertising budget by making sure he makes a gang load of cash. It's not just me hyping him out and, oh, he did good and I'm gonna move on. Those are what I call the music man. Those are the guys that are all hype and no action. The so-called black nationalists. You know who I'm talking about. I got to be mean. All hype and no action. If I really wanted, I would make, as an advertiser, I would make sure that they are selling and making money hand over fist. And because they're going to have to pay me for it. But by the time they get back, like I said, in the Payola scam with the hooker and the number one record, they would have number one records every week. Would not know how I did it, but Brother Will would be like, damn, I got a number one record this week. Man, whatever you're doing, here's some more money for your advertising. Because his cost of production is down, his cost, or it could be both his cost of production and distribution. But he's making more money on his margins. It doesn't matter. He would love to go ahead and put more money into the advertising budget because that just brings him more international markets or more local markets or whatever it is. That's how I look at things. I look at things more than just, cut and dry. Oh, I need a hype man. Because I've seen so many hype mans, and I was like, it reminds me of these two brothers. When I was on R. Kelly's tour, I'll never forget this. I remember these two brothers. I never forget them. When I was in rehearsals, I was on that tour for like 2 years and rehearsing for like a year almost. And it was like, oh my gosh, one of the most arduous jobs I ever had. I mean, arthritis of the jaw from gritting my teeth, high blood pressure, ulcers. I mean, you name it. It was all anything that can make somebody look like an 80-year-old when he's in his 30s or in his 40s. You best believe it was on that tour. And I'll never forget the two brothers that were there, the hype men. That's all they did. They get the mic and they'd be on each side of the stage, and all they did was hype. Never forget them. And they hung out with him every gig. And he'd open up the show and they would just be out there. And most at the time, it was like 90s, early 2000s. Late 90s, early 2000s. Every R&B singer had a hype man. every rapper had hype men on the side of the stage just to hype up the audience. And did they hype it up? Did they advertise the show? I'll never forget a lot of stuff. But hopefully JLSN that kind of helps you out in terms of just the email that you sent. These are just ideas, a lot of ideas that I have. Again, the 3 segments of whatever any business is you manufacture, the cost of getting it out there or selling it, what is it going to cost to sell it, and then what is it going to have to get the word out. Those 3 basic things. Manufacturing is a cost that will never go away. One that can be changed depending on your relationships, the cost of distributing, i.e. the cost of selling, that could always change. Advertisement is very, very abstract. Okay. So therefore it needs to have the most focus in terms of how you're going to use it and how you get the best out of it. To get the more bang out of the buck has to be put more in advertising than anything else. A lot of folks don't think that way, but I do. Take it from a kid who used to sell drugs. I'm telling you, it works. And if you're going to advertise, anybody's going to advertise. Put more emphasis on making sure that you get the biggest bang of the buck out of advertising than anything else. Because if it does right, you're good to go. Then that money that you got in that grant, hey, you're good to go. You ain't got nothing to worry about because you know that you're going to get the returns that you need without putting too much. Again, it's the juice worth the squeeze. It's kind of like these trades. Brother Will, let me go into these trades. I mean, I have been going nuts on this. I had an FXI I'm still trying to get out of, but where's FXI out? Oh, it's still out there. Okay, we'll just keep it out there. I've been trying to get out of these 2 trades, FXI and I'm trying to get out of EWW, but there's no liquidity there. Absolutely none. I had an iron condor on this. IV rank is down, so that means it's I need to get out of this trade. I mean, at all costs, because IV rank is just so down. I just want out. There's no liquidity there, and I should have known that when I got in. I was like, look, man, I got into a trade with no liquidity, which is the first rule of thumb. Always have liquidity. If you look at this, there's no contracts, barely any contracts on my working orders. Barely any contracts. Except for this one has 250,000 contracts. So there's a lot of contracts in this one, 250,000, but my other working orders have nothing. So it's like the Roach Motel. You can get in, but you can't get out. And I need to get out of this because I'm in profit right there. And I'm trying to do whatever I can to get out of that. The vertical we moved our vertical in one of them. I love these in the monies and these verticals. The thing that I don't like is the SPY trade, the spiders, because I'm in the money on the spiders, but volatility is paying for it. It's just I need to get out of the spider trade in the next couple of days. I put it on last week. I have the latest I could get out of it is Wednesday. It's tomorrow. If I don't get out tomorrow, I'm screwed. So I have no other choice but to dump this trade tomorrow. Let's see, February 28th. Or I can move these. I can move these to March 3rd and let's see what these are. If I roll those expirations to the 3rd, I can get a 25-cent credit. Yeah, I can get and then it'll turn these into a diagonal. It'll cut, but I don't want to do that because the volatility is kind of up there, so I wouldn't mind. So if it goes in there, I turn these into iron condors. These were double diagonals. These double diagonal trades, and I showed you the whole thing about diagonals. It's just that I really want to get out of the okay, let's see, FXI. I think I did. Yeah, I'm at 142. I'm trying to get out. They're saying I can get out at 141. What's going on with this? Okay. But the SPY trade, I might as well just get out because it didn't I wanted to get 10%, at least 10%, and it's not giving it to me. Tomorrow is the last day. Yeah, this thing is down $6. Oh my gosh, I gotta get out of this. This ain't going nowhere. Yeah. I'll wait for later on today, but I'm gonna get out of this trade because that means the markets are down $63 today. SPX is down. Yeah, it's 61 bucks. Market's getting destroyed. A lot of that is geopolitical. I could go over and over forever on what's going on there, but markets are getting destroyed today. You're entering. If you saw what happened with Bitcoin overnight, oh my gosh, it was getting destroyed earlier. Damn, it's down 8,000. Man, it was down 6,000 earlier. Oh, this administration is not looking too good. I guess Doge is fixing to cause the implosion of their economy. But yeah, this trade, I have to get out. I have to get out. Let's see if I can get out. Let's see, it was 122. So if I close this, let me see if I could close this at 129. See, 122. Let's see if we could get. Well, we'll go $6. We'll go $8. See if we can do this, because it's not going my way, and I want to get out. I have to get out. Tomorrow is like the last chance I have to get out of this trade in order to make it worth something, because I'm not saying that markets will continue to be destroyed, but at the rate these things are going, I don't see this getting into my wheelhouse at the end of the week, because it's already down from my wheelhouse. These are like, it has to be at around 604 plus, anywhere 604 and above, and this thing is already down another $6 today. I mean, they're getting slaughtered. Their markets, but my VIX trades pay for it. I am digging my VIX. My VIX trades have paid for the $13 I might lose today. The VIX is cool, and EWW, get me out. Stop playing around and just get me out of this trade. I've been trying to get out. I got a limit at 11 cents. So, but what I've been doing is I was buying volatility, but I bought volatility in a double diag. Little did I know that the geopolitical stuff would be happening as crazy as it was, on this double diagonal. Because I got in when volatility was very low, and that's the thing that's keeping me alive on this on the spider trade, this SPX trade. I get paid every day $13 a day to stay in, and every dollar or every point that this goes down, and this is down already, it gives me $6 a Vega, which is great. I mean, Vega is the only reason why I'm in this trade, and it's not destroying me, because I paid 122 for it, but all this is paying off of it. Otherwise, I'd be toast. It'd be really messed up. But each day, the Vega is great. The only thing that's hurt me is the delta. So the delta is being the delta and the gamma, which is around 113. Vega's kind of taking care of that for me, and Theta's taking care of it. So I'm losing, probably. I mean, it's a little bit over, in terms of, for each point that this goes down. This thing is down 5, so that would be 6. So that'd be 6, about 7. Yeah, 7. But I'm getting it. The Vega, each point that goes down the Vega, so I'm probably at a deficit about 1 in my deltas, because my Vega's taking care of that. A little bit over $1, and then the Theta, just holding it overnight, is paying me $12. So still, yet you're getting $5 over, even though things are getting hurt. My thing is, I just want to get out and reset it, because I'm resetting it for something different. Before I was buying volatility, now I have to sell it because volatility is through the roof. If we take a look at the VIX, we'll take a look at VIX charts, and we'll see where volatility is. We can. Oh no, I don't want financials. I want a chart. Okay, there we go. Waiting for it. Yeah, VIX is spiking. Let's take a look at where VIX, and I should know because I just rolled it. I just rolled my VIX trade. So VIX is definitely spiked up today. Looks like it came down a little bit though. It's up $1. It was up 10%, which I don't mind. Just rolling the trades, rolling in my direction. So yeah, so it was up 10%, which is not bad. I mean, this is pretty nice in terms of VIX, just rolling these positions. But what I've been doing, I'm not going to do it now. I'm looking now. I need to look for volatility I can sell. Let's take a look at that chart, that S&P chart of the spider, of the SPOOs. And we'll take a look at that. Look at this. Look at how bad this is getting. It might bounce because this is a very significant. If it breaks this area where it's at right now, all hell is going to break loose. It's down on the floor. If it doesn't break that area, then I could sell the volatility here, because look at how skyrocketed volatility got on the SPX. But on the spiders themselves, volatility's up. So yeah, that's what's saving my ass, is volatility. Again, this is where markets are at. So it could turn around tomorrow. You've got 4 down days. And it's not making Trump look any good at all. But it is what it is. I mean, hey, that's just the nature of business. If this thing can turn around, if it gets back to 604, then I'll stay in the trade till Wednesday. If it doesn't, I'm out. I am out midday tomorrow, regardless. Whatever happens, I'm out. If I don't get those trades filled today for a small loss, I'll definitely get out tomorrow, because I can't stay in this trade too much longer than tomorrow. Tomorrow's like it. Today was supposed to be it, actually. Today was my get out of the trade day. But if not, tomorrow for sure. Let me just double check. Yeah, tomorrow's my get out. Yeah, because Friday is the exit. So yeah, so wow. So I'm trying. Oh yeah, let's SPY. Okay, let's go to 112 credit. Let's see if I can get 112, so I can just get out of this and reset it. Because, I mean, had I done just a diagonal, it'd be a great trade. But it wasn't just a diagonal. It was a double diag, which is kind of like a double. It's like an iron condor, except you're buying volatility and not selling it. But if I were to do something here in the future, let's take a look at liquid ETFs. Look at these. Volatility. XLE. I don't normally trade that. I've done okay with XLE, but I don't normally trade it. That's all energy. And I've done okay. SMH semiconductors, man, look at that. 8.2, of course. DeepSeek is destroying everything. Look at that. Triple Qs, look at that volatility. These would be great for vertical spreads if I were to do this. The Qs, SPYs, Qs, look at the volatility just. And let's see, what else do we got? Serious volatility. If we went, let's go to the 5-day change. So SMH, without a doubt. Let's take a look at how that got clobbered. Yeah, that's basically doing the same thing. So if we were looking at SMH, I would look at like a 235. No, I'd go down even more. I'd go to 232. Sell the 232. Buy the 230. Sell 230. Buy 225. So let's see what happens. Sell the 230, buy the 225. I wouldn't make this more than like, oh man, I could go 51 days. It'll be a smoother curve. Yeah, because I don't want to go anywhere within 20 some days. So 230, we can even go down further. If we went down to the 220, that's a 25 delta. That's a 50% chance that that'll hit you. Go 215, 210. We'll go down, give you more room to 205. That's $1.53. And we're not getting enough credit for it. Okay, we've got it's a $10. So we got 10% of the spread, which is normal when you're doing that, when you're going down to these deltas. I wish right there it's gonna, it's out of a $10 spread, you're only getting, 20% of the of the cost. Is not enough. What's our gamma look like? Gamma is, when I say the gamma is the curve. Is the curve steep? Yes, very steep. See, for this, again, juice is the juice worth the squeeze. Let's see. Look at the juice and the squeeze. It's definitely not worth it. And I'll show you why. The red is the squeeze. The green is the juice. getting this close to a market is not worth it. Definitely not worth it. The only way juice would be worth the squeeze is this is where your market is right here. It's already fallen off the hill. By the time if it got down to that part of the hill, your short strike, you'd be down double what your credit is. It's not worth it. But what could be worth it, if I were still thinking that this thing would go down, I could do a butterfly. I've been doing a lot of butterflies. Those have been working out great. Butterflies, I have not had a problem with those. I would be doing, say, again, you have there's a 40% chance that that'll get touched. I would do something like this. I would be double that. These have been working great for me. These out of the money, skip strike butterflies. So you're getting a 53-cent credit, although it's not the best of credits. 446, I'd probably move these up a little bit, but it's risk two to make one. So this is 442. No, I'll keep it where I was at because you're not getting the credit. I could do a butterfly that's closer in the money, but this thing can move. It's the ability for this thing to move $4. Let's see how much it can move. It has the ability to move $12. This thing can move $12 in 21 days easily. Because I always double it. It says the average true range of it is $6. I always double that. So if I were to do that, knowing this thing can move $12, and we're at 240, then we know that this thing can easily, in the $6, basically it can move $6 any given period. So I would say $12, and that could happen overnight. So so you're down at 230 right here in a heartbeat, which is 70% chance that could get touched. But if I did this, you're not getting a lot of credit for it. But let's take a look at juice squeeze. I'm seeing if we could do a little better. But butterflies have been doing really, really well for me. Hold on for 1 sec. With indexes like this, I could play the dozens, for lack of a better term. In other words, when you play in the dozens, somebody's mama, you're gonna get beat up. But I could. But if I just wanted that 53-cent credit, what I would be looking at is if I did this and wanted to just grab 53 cents. Let's just see if we could do this. Okay. Yeah, 53-cent credit. But if it hit our short strike, I'd be down 118. So that's double. If it hit, by the time it hit our short, no, I'd be down 90. So, and volatility would also hurt you there too. But in order to get down to 215, it would have to get to 215. What is the probability that SMH could get to 215? 42% chance it could touch that. Okay, 42% chance. It's a little scary, but it's, and it's just outside what they expect. They expect this thing to move $20 between now and April 17th. They're saying this thing can move $20. So, there's, at least 20, no, actually, they'll say $25. So from 239 going down a good $25, we're around 215. Okay, and that's kind of what they're saying. Hey, this thing can easily get there. That's between now and and you're not going to hold this thing that long. You only want to get whatever percentage you can. So if you got a 50-cent credit, if you could get and the cost of the trade is $4, what is the cost? Cost of trade is, if you could get 45 plus that, if your profit could be $90 total in terms of profit, it's a trade worth doing. And if it gets down there, so because the ultimate, which never really happens unless you have my holy grail, the ultimate is you can make a total profit of 548. So it's like, this is what I've been doing lately, and it's been working okay. So if this market jets up to the upside, then you would take this 205 and pull it to the 210, and then therefore you have a free trade. Because if it jets up to the upside, you're, what is it, you're $5 away from this, $5 away from that, and then you got a free trade, no risk in the trade, and all you got to do is just wait. Either you could keep your $53, or you could, it's a lotto ticket. It's like getting a free lotto ticket. These things have been working over and over for me, and it's great when you have high volatility like now. These are the perfect time to put these trades on. High vol trades, IWM, it's another one. IV index had changed. You got 32, 25, and it went up 5%. Triple Qs, 32, 24, and it went up 4%. Okay, these are the perfect trades. XLE, you got 53, 25, and it's already up 4%. These are the perfect times to go ahead and start doing, skip strike butterflies, because it's just common sense. Same thing. Because you're getting directional in a ways. It's still kind of omnidirectional. The only thing that I get afraid of is the gamma. If we looked at that SMH, the gamma curve is the only thing, because your gamma, it's not as bad. It's only 10 cents a gamma, so it's not as bad as I think. You got an 89% chance of at least making 50%. You've got theta that's paying you about 90 cents. And the probability of you making a penny or more by April 17th is 82% chance that you're going to make a penny or more. 82% chance. That's why I like trades like this. So I think I'm gonna probably put one on. Not an SMH. Let's take IWM. Let's do the same thing. These skip strikes. Very simple. I like to go out. We'll go out into the April expiration. It's very simple. This thing, they're saying it'll move about, we'll say about $15. So we're at the 200. We'll go up to 202, 23. So that'll give you a 40%. No, we'll go to 201. Go to 200. Round it out. There's a lot more contracts. You got 10,000 contracts out there. 200. We can go down 10, 190, up 5. Okay, 205. And let's sell 2 of these. Okay. All right. Let's see. Let's do that again. Buy the 190. Sell the 2 200s. Buy 1 205. And then I wonder why I can't. Wow. Okay. I wonder why I couldn't do that. Interesting. Double these. Okay. So 45. We're only getting a 15-cent credit. SMH was much better. But let's see. We got, gamma's only 22 cents. Got a 91% chance of course, keeping that, 7 cents. We got 80 cents of theta. Probability of profit is 86. To make 517 or lose 480 in the total if you held this thing to expiration. But let's look at our curves. Yeah. And this thing, let's look at the chart and see how much this can move. So we're looking at least $6 that this thing can move on you, $6 easily. But you're at this point where this thing might, I'm not saying it will, but it could turn around on you. This thing can move easily $6. Like there's no tomorrow. Easy. So if that's the case, If we know that this thing can move $6, we're at 215. What would happen if it got to 211 or 209? So it got down to 209, we'd be down $17. Darn shucks. Gee willikers. But we're so far away from this. I could move these up so it's the 210, 205, but let's see what our deltas in the 205 are. 205s are 27. That's a 54% chance that this thing will get touched. I could go to the 204. Yeah, if I went to 204, that's a 50% chance that this thing will get touched. That would bring everything up quite a bit. So it would be 204, 209. So if I did this, it'd be 209, 204, 194. And is there any kind? There's only 77 contracts down there. Okay, let's move it up to 195, 205. It's 11,000 contracts. 210, 1,000 contracts. You're getting 26 cents a credit. A little bit worse than the gamma. 96% chance that you're going to make 50% of the trade. You're getting paid $1 a day. 80% chance. So here's the kicker. Same buying power pretty much. But the thing is you're so much closer to the fire. Even though 205 has a 27%, the 200 has a 20%. I like the original. Why? Why do I like the original? Because by bringing it down, so instead of 195, we'll go 190, 200, 205, because you get further away from the fire with the same amount of everything. Damn near the same amount. The theta's not paying you as much, but the same probability of profit and the probability of 50%, the same thing, and you can move a lot further away from the fire. Your spread is from 10 cents to 22. I'm gonna try to play the risk. I'm gonna do this, but I'm gonna try to get 21 cents. If it hits my short strike, which means if it hits the short strike, you're out. You just don't want to stay in that long. It's like, no, it's not. It's not worth trying to. So if it hits the short strike, I'd be down about $60 plus whatever pain of the volatility. I would probably start looking at things. If it got down to like the 205, I'd start looking at doing something different. Again, this thing can move. So I'm going to try to get the 22 cents of credit on this. Try to get that 22 cents. In the meantime, I got to get out of these trades. Okay, so IWM. Oh, yeah, that's the one. And this is just not doing anything. So FXI, get me out. 41, 42. What was 42? Get me out. Let's see. Let's see if I really want to get out of EWW that has no liquidity. Yep, so I'm still there. I got in the Roach Motel, and it's not letting me out. This is the third day I've been in this trade, and Tastyworks is like, nope, we're not going to send the trade through. You're going to stay. You're in the Roach Motel. Tastyworks is like, they're sleeping at the wheel. It's like, they're saying, oh, did he place a trade? I don't see one. Oh, okay. Let's hang out. They're sleeping at the wheel. Get me out. Get me out. I want to take the profit and roll. Let's see where SPX is, how bad it's getting hurt. It was getting hurt for a minute there. 60 down, I think. Yeah, so it's coming back a little bit. It's coming back. Let's see my SPY trade. Let's see, 120. Well, 113. Okay, so that's all good. You know, I can press the trade a little bit and see if I can get $13, but come on. Let's see, where are we at? $14. All right, let's see if I can get $14 on this. Yeah. Not to say I'll get it because this is so far in the money. But anyways, Jellicin, I hope that works. Just giving you some ideas, from the email. Hopefully that works. Um, oh, good, good, good. Okay, great. Okay, yeah. Okay, great. So no, it's all good as long as the ideas that I gave you will work. Hopefully it will. These are just things that I think of back in my days when I was a bad kid selling drugs and stuff like that. I was like, how did I make money when I was doing it? And especially in today's environment, my goodness. I was going to do the whole live stream of, about the current environment. Oh my gosh. And JLSM International. I know you watch Gerald Horn. He's one of my favorites. I strongly urge everybody to just think international from this point on, because that's where the world is at. International relationships, international ideas, synergies, no matter who it is. If it's somebody over there in Colombia, somebody in Kathmandu, everybody's your client nowadays. As I always said, and I had coined this term years ago, and that's why I beat up on Dr. Watkins, because he tried to go ahead and use the same term, but it didn't make sense. And I like to make sense, but I coined this back in the days of LIB radio. I know you probably remember this, JLSM. What is that, like over 20 years ago now? Dang, going on 25 years. I always say the 3 C's. Man, it's over 20 years. I use the 3C system. Man, I ain't mad at you, Dr. Watkins. It's just something that came before your time. The 3C's is what I learned when I was selling drugs. But what happened is I watched that movie Porky's back in the 80s. And Porky's, I know a lot of folks, it was a white boy movie, but it was one of those movies that I learned about how to sell things and how to do, it's called Clients, Constituents, and Customers. And I would tell folks that back in the LIB radio days. The 3C system is very important. Clients, constituents, and customers. First off, you have a customer. That customer loves what you do. It becomes a client because it's always going to come back to you like a whorehouse. Then what happens is you become a constituent. In other words, constituents bring clients and customers to the actual governor or whoever it is. You become that constituent. You're the advertiser. You're bringing folks to the guy because it was such a good whorehouse. It was like, oh, and the reason I did that is because of that movie Porky's. If you remember that movie Porky's, and it was Porky's whorehouse, and the college frat boys went up there and they were like, oh man, and they were all into that, had the best time of their life. Then they brought friends. They were a client. First off, they were there by themselves. And they had such a good time. There was a customer. He wanted to get laid. It was last year of high school. He went to a whorehouse. Then all of a sudden it was like, man, I need to keep going back. And they kept going back to that whorehouse. They became clients. Then after they became clients, they brought all their friends. So they became constituents. And that's where I developed the 3C system, is watching that movie Porky's back in the 80s. And that's what I was telling folks on the LIB radio. I didn't use the whole analogy. So hopefully Dr. Watkins can get this and he'll know exactly where it came from. But the 3C system, that he tried to use it, and I'm like, dude, it's everything for me is logic. It's all about logic. The first thing you do, JLSM, if you get a good customer, you best believe they'll become a client. The moment you get a customer, that customer will say, when I run out of my supply of whatever you have, I'm going to get some more. That means it was like me when I was selling drugs. I had some of the best, purest, you name it. When I made my hash, I had a whole process of making Turkish hash in the middle of Colorado. When I was making meth, I had learned from these white boys. They were bikers, and they taught me how to make meth, but I enhanced it by using I put a bunch of Orajel in a napkin. Then I would, or any of those things, that they use for teething for babies, and I'd put it in there in the napkin. And what I did is they called it biker's coke because I was able to get all the oils out of it. I ain't gonna tell in the live stream how to do it because I don't want anybody getting any quote unquote so-called trouble. But I would be able to extract the oils out and once I took the handkerchief out, there was no oils. So what happens? I would let that. You'd have pure either xylocaine. There's different types of cane, and it would be powdered. It would dry, and once it dried, become in a powdery form. I can still do it to this very day. I could do the same thing. You just give me the tools, and I can make the meth. That was different. What they call biker's coke back in the days. Meth nowadays is just like 7 different ways to make it. But the thing is, back then when we were making Biker's Coke, I would enhance the Coke that I would made with the hydrochloric acid and the Benadryls and Hellers. That was the stuff that would get you, you would just be like up all day. But it was so hard going down, because unless you shot it up, it would be so hard going down. Then what I would do is I would cut it with the cane mixture that I would make. And I had done it so well that the first customers I had were so freaked out on it. Bikers, and we had this one guy named Chief who was a Native American he was like the dude that was behind all the bikers. He would come up, man, I need to have some more of that. Then he became a client because I was making so much and it would only cost me, I could make about an ounce. God, it would cost me about $33 back then. It was about like the early 80s, late 70s, and I could make an ounce of that like there was no tomorrow. Nowadays, I could probably make about 300 grand with it overnight, but I'm not into that. But I would cut it with that, and it went down so well that all of a sudden all the bikers were my clients. Then it got a little too hot because they were telling all their friends to come with, hey man, this is where you could get it, and I was like, I had to shut it down because it was, because you don't want it that. That's what I mean by the 3C system. It's just business. I mean, and when I was a kid, I was a bad kid. I was a straight A student, got all A's. The nice guy, the one that was rarely in trouble with anybody. Everybody loved him. Oh, he's a good kid. Woo. Little did they know, still waters run deep. I also was really deep in the pyro. I could still learn how to, you name it up, I could blow it up in a heartbeat, even to this very day. I brought up something because a lot of these black militias talk this and that. And I said, look, you give me some seashells, you give me some tannerite, you give me some nails, you give me some rocks, you give me dishwashing liquid, and I don't have to use the fertilizer like Tim McVeigh. It would help, but I don't need to use it. I'll tell you the last ingredient, but I don't want y'all to get in any problems. I ain't going to say it. But with those things, I can make something that would definitely do so much damage. And nobody would be able to trace anything because of the sodium, because of what I got on the seashells. Just regular seashells. There's something I could do, and nobody would be able to trace a goddamn thing. They would say, how did he construct this? I could use a cell phone, but I wouldn't have to. That's the thing. You could trace, you could cut it off. No, all it has to do is I have to place it at a certain time of day in the morning, and I could time it to a certain time in the day. Once that happened, it would early morning, this thing would be the most volatile. Once it ignites, it's over. It's done. I could use a pipe, but that depending on it would be pretty intense but I could do that. To this very day, I know how to make very serious, explosive type of situations. There's a lot of stuff. When I was a kid, that's all I did is I'd blow shit up. I definitely need the dishwashing liquid. I could use fertilizer. I could use I could either use that or I could use Comet. I could use what else would I use? It would be but the igniter would be the seashells. That would be, and it's untraceable. That's the beauty of it. They're like, how was he able to ignite this? It would freak them out. But it is what it is. I mean, like I said, when I was a kid, man, you name it, I was into a lot of crazy shit. But anyways, Yellow Sim, hopefully this works. Just giving you some ideas in terms of business and how to maximize certain things. Hopefully it works. I'm pretty sure, there's some ideas in there for you. Yeah. Like I was back. Oh, and by the way, I'm proud. I was able to use my geometric constructions. I'm just freaking out about how far I've gotten on this thing that I've been working with damn near, since the LIB radio days. I mean, I've been working on this forever. And like my friend said, he's out on tour right now. He said, man, this is your life's work. I said, yeah, it is. It is. It is something that is a groundbreaking, going to change the world situation. It is. Outside of the ideas I'm giving these geneticists about cancer research, because that's the other thing that I'm not into that. That's for geneticists. All I'm telling them is, hey, here's an NDA, try this. If it works, okay, then just make sure my name goes on the patent. But I don't have time for that. That's not my world. I don't want nothing to do with it, but it's just something for cancer research that I have not heard anybody else talk about. And I'm using my my degree and my field into being a sound man, and working in the audio and the stuff I did, coming up with audio work. I said, you know what? The same thing happens with this. Why can it not happen with with genetics? And I was like, yeah, you could use the same thing, and therefore you're not using an external drug. You're not using the external drug. Apparently I saw yesterday that China has a cancer research that they've accelerated with this new drug that's a game changer for cancer research. China's doing a lot of shit, especially with DeepSeek, that's now in all their cars and making Elon Musk Grok look like a joke. If you ever saw some of the AI that's coming out, I've been doing a lot of research in AI. I use it all the time now for everything. And DeepSeek's AI, even though I had problems with the Super Bowl, DeepSeek had problems with that. Outside of that, DeepSeek, in terms of my coding, in terms of genetic work, because I just asked, I said, hey, what if? Can this happen? And so I got this friend who's a geneticist. I'm like, this NDA, I ain't know. Somebody probably did this, but I have not heard about it. But if it does be groundbreaking as I think it might, my black ass is going to be on that patent amongst you, Dr. Fauci, and about 30 other institutions. I make sure my name is on there, not as an afterthought. But it is what it is. Always thinking of innovation. Always thinking of I'm not like I was a kid when I was bad. No, it just always thinking not outside the box, but if no box exists, and whatever you do, it has to change the world. Always change. I mean, it has to be that magnanimous that it changes the entire world. Anyways, JLSM, hopefully that works. Brother Will, KW, always good to see you guys. All right, y'all take care.